It's all in relativeness to where I put you on Discord, like user volume wise.
Oh, like when you can change somebody's volume to like 90% and stuff.
Yep. So like Pink and Semi are definitely up there.
Yeah.
And then
and Dave and ours returned way down.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Dave.
Welcome back, Dave. And today, we have a special guest. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm JJ. I play Solomon in Adrian's current campaign, and I played not Arvindel Kilfine in the last Curse of Strahd game.
Hell yeah.
It made my heart feel warm when you said Not's full name.
Well, it's spoilers for the end of the campaign for those
who are following on in the book that Dave publishes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's really the only place you will read of our tale.
Like, Dave, that you've told our campaign stories is like bedtime stories to your kids. That's my personal headcanon.
Hey, I can neither confirm nor deny, but you keep that headcanon. But I may or may not trap my wife while she's showering to tell her all about our games.
But yeah, how did you get into TTRPGs, JJ?
Kind of in a bit of a roundabout way. I never really played them or anything when I was younger. I never was really into Dungeons and Dragons like in the middle or high school or anything like that. Or in college, really. Actually, work is kind of how I got into it. I work in media production. People at the table know this, but for the people at home, I work on like producing and making, filming TV commercials and film and things like that. And it's actually pretty popular amongst a lot of people on the crew. So there was someone who kind of ran and set up these big D&D events. Like, she would write a adventure, and then about 30, 40 people would meet at like a brew pub and break up into tables and play the adventure. And then that lasted like, an hour or two, and then people kind of hung out and drank afterwards, which is always an easy sell for me. So
when you said 30 to 40, I'm like, whoa, DMing for 30 to 40 people. I'm like, oh, they break up into teams? No, okay, cool.
And it's also like, for me, it was really strange because it was also kind of overwhelming because I don't know many of these people. I was kind of just invited because one of the person who was going to run one of the tables, like, yeah, you should drop by. A bunch of people from crew are going to be there. So I didn't really know these people. I kind of don't really like large crowds of people I don't know anyways. I get kind of anxious, but it was really fun. And then that was only one thing, because then shortly after that, because she only did those events, I guess like once a month, maybe every other month. But then funnily enough, after that one, she moved to LA, and then no one really ever picked up the mantle of holding the event again. So no one really ever did that. But I already had my first fix of D&D, so
I give them the first taste for free.
Right. Yeah. So then because I knew some of the people at work had campaigns, and I would kind of talk to people, and at that point Roll20 was kind of a thing, and I was starting to kind of get into Critical Role. It was just kind of a perfect storm of things that kind of kept pushing me a little bit further once a little of the momentum went away. Like when the big meetup kind of stopped, I was watching, Roll20, and another one that got me into just like TTRPGs in general was there was this really cool, I don't know if it's the channel or if it's the name of their show, but it was called Kolak, like 1991, I think. and it was based on the Kids on Bike system, and
Oh.
just those like live Let's Plays, like the production and just the stories were very engrossing, and that's kind of like a cool story is always something that kind of keeps me interested in any kind of piece of media. And then I get kind of, obsessed about finding more and more. And then Critical Role was making just an absolute ton of money at the time, because that was right after they opened their Kickstarter and became
Mm-hmm.
millionaires, like literally overnight. And I saw all these articles about it and just kind of became really interested in all that kind of stuff. But then COVID happened, so these kind of like in-person meetups that I would go to every now and then kind of all moved on to Roll20. And then eventually, through the filter of, finding one little group that would go for a couple months and then the DM would burn out or the whole table would kind of burn out, eventually I kind of ended up at your table, and it's actually kind of lasted.
Yeah, we survived a scheduling change,
Yes, that's
which is
right.
very impressive.
Very
And
impressive.
JJ, did you also have to endure a two-part interview to get into this game, or did you have a VIP pass?
I think I probably had a 2 or 3 part interview. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
I have the
I
spreadsheets somewhere.
I tell that
I was
story
gonna
to
say
everyone.
I definitely didn't have a VIP pass because like I think I've picked up that like a bunch of you guys had like played together before because I think Adrian, Joseph, and Dave, aren't you in a game or something?
Mm-mm.
We got into Skylar's game after they met me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
no one had a VIP pass. Everyone went through the same process.
Which was a two-part interview.
Which is good because you take out the flakes.
No, I think that was a big part of why we stuck together. Go make force people to show level of commitment.
Yeah, I happen to agree with that philosophy of conducting interviews.
And I think
Okay, so
yeah.
JJ, how you weren't playing for very long then before you jumped into dungeon mastering? Is that right?
Kinda. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I mean, eventually, I think, especially as someone who came from like a writing and kind of creative background, eventually you want to direct. You know what I mean? There's a phrase like all actors want to direct and all directors want to act. So like eventually, after being an actor for so long in other people's like schemes and stories and machinations, you're like, okay, I think it'd be fun to, kind of create my own story and see what happens with people. I want to say though, at least a year of probably playing before I really,
Okay.
I take that back. Probably less, maybe 6 to 8 months. I mean, I probably bought the DMG pretty quickly into COVID because like I think I bought the 3 main books, the handbook, the monsters manual, and the DMG. But like the DMG is very, what's the
Dumb.
word? It's a
Not
very like,
helpful.
yeah, it's like a brick. And to someone like me who has trouble like breaking down like an academic book like that without somebody to kind of be a translator, it's really hard to get through. So it
Yeah.
kind of became like a back burner thing, and like I was kind of like I'll learn by watching and also by just kind of experiencing how other people run their games.
Yeah.
100%.
I think I got to like page like 27 the first time, and maybe a year or two later I tried to pick it up again, and I got to like 35 or something. It's a whole lot of book,
Yeah.
and it just like goes into depth, and I'm like, that's cool, but like you're not hooking me. You're just like, and
Yeah.
this is how you could do it, and this is how you could do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
starting to
That's
nod off.
cool, but I could watch YouTube videos and learn how to
Yeah, and
dungeon
also like
master.
the way the book's like linearly structured is kind of, it doesn't really help how like someone who has no idea what they're doing is going to operate for, because I think it starts with like creating your multiverse
Okay, creating
Yeah.
or
your
like creating a
pantheon.
pantheon,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, or like even creating a town, like they're pretty lofty kind of concepts before
Hmm.
you even really get down to like the mechanics of the game, which I feel like is a better place to start because like
100%.
that's kind of like the big trap, I think, when you start trying to dungeon master is you're trying to figure out how everything works, and you're really looking for like a Cliff Notes version, and it's kind of hard when you just crack open the DMG.
Yeah, I think you could successfully dungeon master your entire lifetime without having to build your own pantheon or multiverse. You know, like those are not necessary ingredients to dungeon master a game.
Right. And I think only recently, after like so many years of dungeon mastering, that I just like, okay, I'm gonna try out a pantheon. Like, it's not necessary. Like, and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, is this god in your game? Yeah, it's in my game because I think you probably like this person in the game. So like, why not? That person's in there.
Yeah.
I was just saying that, like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of overlap even within, different pantheons. I mean, the classic example is, Greek and Roman gods are basically the same except for their names, minus a couple. So it's basically the same thing. You're always going to have the, kind of hunter god or whatever, depending on your world. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You fancy yourself like a storyteller. You referenced kind of like wanting to be the director and stuff. Did you go to school for like film related stuff?
I did. I did make a poor life decision and went to film school, yes.
Why do you describe it like that?
I say as a joke a little bit. I mean, the short answer is I've never earned a job from my degree. No one's ever asked to see my degree, or anything like that. The other thing too is my degree is also a bit of a joke because literally it's a bachelor's in quote television end quote. Doesn't even say media production or anything else. It says television.
I got my degree in television.
In TV.
Mm-hmm.
That is
luckily,
funny.
That's not the best joke my school could make, though, because the same year I started going there, they opened a new, I guess, a degree, you would call
Like
it,
a
right?
degree
Program.
path or something like that. Yeah.
Half?
Yeah. You could pay God knows how much money, go to the school, and get a degree in comedy studies. A bachelor's degree in comedy studies.
Nice. My wife probably wishes I took that because I recycle jokes. I don't adhere to the rule of 3. I think I could have.
Well, it's funny because like I understand kind of where the idea originally came from because like I live in Chicago. I went to school in Chicago, and Second City's up here. So they had, even before they created the actual degree you could get, my school had a relationship with Second City, and you were able to take Second City classes because they're their own kind of creative, what would you call it, center where you can, pay to take various classes and programs of all types. And they have this conservatory program, I think. This is like for people who want to go on SNL, this is kind of like how they would originally try to do it in probably like the last 15 years, minus 5 years, blah, blah, blah. Because you would start at the bottom and then go through these levels of the program, and then you would reach the main stage where like you're making a little bit of money, I guess. But those mid levels, they would have classes for the public. So, but they're taught by the main stage actors. So there were people who are taking writing courses at Columbia, my school, who could take these mid-level, like conservator programs at Second City for college credit towards their Columbia degrees, which that is cool. So then through their relationship with Second City, they eventually schemed up this comedy studies degree program.
Ah, yes, more money, please.
Yes, please. Send us the monies.
That's
So,
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Adrian, by the way, I'm gonna answer all the questions here, so you can just get your bag of popcorn.
I'm gonna go get a cup of tea. I'll be right back.
Go get your tea. So, JJ, do you see? Wait, is he serious? I think he's getting up. Do you see like crossover or parallels to like stuff you learned in your program or just what you do as a job in D&D as far as like storytelling and production and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I like the way I dungeon master. I definitely kind of come from that approach of treating it like treating each session kind of like an episode of television. So that's
Okay.
kind of like I try to have a general arc in each session, and I try to kind of keep and maintain a general arc of a plot. Like my players are kind of getting to the midpoint of the second arc of their campaign, and I'm trying to have a whole campaign arc, which that will be my big challenge, just sticking the landing of the campaign arc. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and don't you just have to kind of let your players give you ideas as they table talk and you just make your notes, you know? Boom. They just wrote your next session for you.
Pretty much. I've kind of learned that instead of like, so like you talked about or asked about kind of like maybe differences and similarities to how I would approach like from a television production standpoint. I wouldn't like plot out as much as I used to. Because exactly, I've kind of learned that like it's a strength to be okay with letting the players break your boundaries of like what you had kind of put up.
Yeah, and just impossible to prepare everything for what your knucklehead players are gonna do.
It's human interaction. It's always going to be like a mixed bag. Are they feeling adventurous, or are they gonna like, yeah, I'll sit back this time, you know? Like,
yeah, well, not only is it human interaction, but it's make believe. You're going to be even more stupid or ridiculous or courageous than you'd normally be.
Right? Yeah. We're a bunch of adults playing pretend for fun.
That's right.
And it's beautiful.
Better recognize.
Yeah, but it's collaborative storytelling, which is I think one of the big aspects of what really got me hooked with it. You know, and instead of if you as a DM are like, I am telling this story, and your players, even if they aren't like actively saying like that's not the story we want to go for, you know, they can lose interest kind of quick, and then the energy's not there. Plus, like, I think it can be spontaneity can be a really cool thing for a collaborative storytelling.
100%.
And I think as a DM, it really pushes the boundaries of like, how can you think on your toes? What can you pull out of the air that makes a little bit of sense, and then maybe later you can put the rest of the sense together.
Absolutely. I've multiple times now tried. You all were part of my first attempts to incorporate like mystery or like detective work into D&D games, and the current one I'm working on in my game, I like didn't have the answers when we started playing. It's like when it feels right.
Yeah. Speaking about Dave's campaign of mystery and intrigue, the Roaring City.
The Roaring City.
Tell me, being the the other half of the people who got to play two different characters, how did you feel about that? What was?
Oh yeah. Context. I'm the context police.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
In the Roaring City, which if you're a loyal listener to Dean Degrees, you're pretty familiar with now. JJ, first of all, not context police. I'm detouring already. JJ is the reason I incorporated mystery or detectiveness into that game. Because when I asked my players, are there any like tropes that you specifically want to explore playing during the 1920s, JJ mentions kind of like a noir detective type of he mentioned it once, and I was like, done. So Okay, but context, please. We knew we were only going to be playing for like 6 or 8 sessions, and shortly into the campaign, JJ was like, "I think I'm done playing with this character. I want to try another one." So yeah, like speak to that experience, JJ, and your thought process going into it, deciding to character change, all of it. Just share it all.
The short version was I just wasn't really gelling with Fox. I just didn't really understand him as a character. Like he didn't become alive, for one, and two, I think there was some other person at the table who had like a skill overlap. So it was kind of like, oh, because like so for context, please, I played like I think he was a goblin or a gnome. It was a rogue. That's what
Goblin rogue.
It was because I was also a goblin rogue.
And there was
That
another
was
rogue in the party, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was so much like skill overlap. I basically kind of built the character because I was just like, I wanted to play a soul knife rogue because that subclass sounds kind of fun. But then when it came time to kind of create a backstory and everything, nothing really jumped at me. I kind of, I created a character, and then as you do, you sit down at the table and you kind of see how much life kind of comes out and kind of what happens. And as we kind of went into the sessions further and further, I just kind of became less and less interested in the character. And then I think I was just like, hey, Dave, would you mind if I just switched characters? And then August came about, which and I think Dave maybe could see it more than I can, but I definitely had some kind of character resignation or resonate and had something stronger than the original character kind of come out.
Yeah, absolutely. You could just tell that you were excited about this artificer.
Oh, this is an artificer? Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. I remember now. The little, like, cartoonish thing, the gun or whatever it was.
Oh, uh-huh.
Reginald the Third.
I'm sorry, the
Sir
third.
Oswald Reginald the Third, my walking living bomb. Yes.
Get it right.
I'm so sorry.
Seriously. He's going to be August's lifesaver to make sure that he maintains his status as the VBEG of the Roaring City.
Eventually, that's the long context.
It's a long context.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I started punching Fox the second or third because he was freaking out. I'm like, they're gonna know we're here, and I'm like,
that was the planned exit.
Okay, cool. I was like, part of me is like, we need to get him out of here. And I felt like I feel bad, but also I don't want to get caught, but I also want to keep the party together. So like, were you trying to like run off or something, or just like you thought we'd leave you there?
I can't remember exactly. I just knew Fox was on his way out. Yeah. I think we already had the second character created, Dave, for that session. So I knew that session the switch was going to happen, or etc.
Yeah.
So I think when shit kind of hit the fan, I just kind of played it as kind of true to the character as I could, and just was like, well, let's just see what happens. Because like Fox was kind of like this old man, war veteran, kind of off for one last adventure. And then I think he realized he got roped up with a bunch of like criminals.
Like crazies, yeah.
And he just like had an old moment where he's in over his head. And I was just like, I just want to see what happens. Like, if everyone gets caught, that would be an interest. Because I also knew, speaking to a level of trust at our table, I knew Dave could roll with whatever we kind of created, and whether everyone got caught and captured and put in jail, or if the party split up, he could roll with it. And I also knew you guys kind of were trusting enough to roll with kind of whatever I kind of threw out there.
Yeah, because we knew we were going to look for an opportunity to swap you out, swap your PCs out, but we didn't have anything concrete, nothing that like railroaded, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it did get kind of wacky, and it did require your PC to make a stealth check to just like get out, which happened to be a natural 20, by the way. But then I remember, because your response made me laugh, JJ, is then there was this witch hunt for your PC that we were trying to exit. We were trying to like write your character
Oh
off.
yeah.
And there's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe more of the other players
garage,
like trying to locate you. And at some point you either messaged me or I messaged you to like check in on how things were going, like off to the side of the game, right? And you were having a blast, JJ, with this.
Oh
You're like,
yes.
this said something like, "This is all I could imagine and more." And I was panicking because I was like, "What are we gonna do? They're not gonna let go that you are like writing your character off," and you were just loving it. And I laugh at that whenever I think of it.
It was a beautiful moment. Like a bunch of rogues and I think we were all just like looking. I threw a bunch of ball bearings and it was just wacky fun. And it was
Wacky
like,
fun.
let's keep moving. I felt like Dave was like saying, and I was just like, but I gotta find my people.
Yeah. Let's just let this character go so we can introduce the new one.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I love it, yeah, because you guys had like no idea, so you guys kept looking.
Right. Yeah, how would it have made you feel if you weren't introducing a new character and the rest of the PCs were just kind of like, whatever, I'm sure he'll turn up somewhere.
If a quick exit is what you wanted, I would have given you a quick exit, just like showing Geo's like merciless, just we're going, and then walk
He's
away.
He's not cut out for it, obviously.
Something, I don't know. Which would feel mean, but like, hey, let's go see his next character.
I don't think I've got any like Roaring City specifics for JJ, but we can't really talk much about your current PC. I feel like.
Oh, that's true.
I did give spoilers out for this game last episode, just FYI.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know,
including Solomon.
No, I did not. I didn't talk about Solomon spoilers, but I did let some stuff out, and there's a little watermark. So if you want to talk about it, we can. And I just put a little timestamp about, hey, Ithaka spoilers here, because y'all two know each other's character pretty intimately for the most part. And
we kind of ended up fleshing a lot of our characters out together.
Yeah.
When we did our fireside chat.
Which is great, because I don't have to do that.
Which was really cool. I'd never done something like that. Where JJ and I basically played a session of D&D together, more or less without a dungeon master, just sitting at a campfire going into our session. We had yet to play in our new campaign yet. But we did it as characters we were going to be playing as. That was really cool. And when I describe it, very nerdy. But very cool.
Part of me wants to have more of that, but I'm afraid it'll take away from what could be in the moment. But I do cherish that one-on-one conversation, that development between two characters, like inside the party. And I know we can do it on stream, but like this way, there's not much of a restraint on time and like worrying about, oh, well, does somebody else want to go? It's more intimate in the parts of just like, we're just going to shoot the shit. We're going to, if a question I don't know about my character, that gives me more ammo to fill the background, more time to develop a more rounded character.
I agree. I think that's very much what we called our fireside chat did. At least for Ismark. I'm assuming you'd say the same, JJ, for Solomon.
Yeah, and also I liked it as like a newer player. It helped me try to find a voice for the character, because Solomon's, and I've talked with Adrian about this. Solomon's a challenging character for me to like play at the table, because context. My previous character in our Curse of Strahd campaign, which was the main campaign we've played for the majority of our time at the table, was, I think, for lack of a better word, the comic relief of the campaign. He was just a very kind of designed as a ridiculous character that kind of became serious, but within the realms of not making the game silly. Whereas like Solomon is very much like kind of a Wolverine character.
Very broody.
So yeah, and I really am trying to strike a balance with that, but not make him come across like an asshole to the other players, because then it's just like, well, why like to your point of when they were looking for Fox for 15-20 minutes, if my character comes across like an asshole and we split up, but we need the party to come back together, but they're like, well, why should we go look for this guy? He's a broody, so it's been something I'm hoping to walk a fine line with, making him a silent but interesting character.
So far, I think you are walking that line well. I know you and my characters have a little bit of a connection going in, which may help, but I think you've done a good job kind of keeping the broody, but not
well, and
indifferent or whatever.
And I think our fireside definitely helped with that, because I remember there was a part where, like, because Ismark's asking Solomon these like prodding questions, and I think I just was like, he just doesn't respond. He just doesn't respond, and I think that happened like 2 or 3 times in a row, and I'm kind of like, oh man, if I kind of painted myself into a corner with this character.
Right.
But then, like, that's helped me reapproach different scenarios in the game. Whereas, like, in our last session, where like we finally got the Ithaka and stuff was kind of starting to go crazy, the way Solomon is kind of written in my head, if this was like a TV show, I don't think Solomon would have been involved with what happened. I think he would have broken off and like gone off exploring on his own, because he's in Ithaca, like Adrian. Now this is me talking with a little more of what me and Adrian know, and not what Dave knows.
But like, go on.
Yeah, because the way Solomon was kind of written was like, in my head, in our first part of the campaign, everyone's trying to get to this mega city, this very important place, Ithaka. And Adrian kind of told us the first part of the campaign was we weren't going to be there. The first arc of the campaign was going to be the characters traveling to and earning access into Ithaka. So I was like, okay, I've got all this time to kind of create reasons between characters with Solomon for him to become engaged with and care about these other characters. And holy shit, we're already here. He barely knows these people. Why doesn't he just walk away from these people and go off to go explore his mysteries? So I was like, no, that doesn't work. Plus I want to roll dice, and that was when Joseph was having Joseph was getting involved with Percy, where he was getting all smart. And so I was like, well, Solomon just walks over because he's itching. He's not in a good mood, and he's itching for a fight.
It was good.
That keeps him roped in with the party.
I think that's still true. I think a lot of our party's motivations are actually based off of Solomon and Ismark's wants right now. And so I think that's still very much what a lot of our PCs are thinking, or will be thinking, when we resolve this little story arc, is like, why do we stick together and stuff? But like to your point about like, well, at the end of the day, I want to roll dice. It's kind of like, yes, that's what my character would do, and then there's also like, I just want to play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, so I'm gonna make it work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the other half of a challenge for me, because like keeping the consistent character over like a span of like a year campaign, when like maybe one day you show up and you're just like, I just really want us to get into a fight today, and then maybe you have another session where it's like, okay, we're already in the middle of the fight, and you're just like, I really want to get into my story. I want to go role play with this one NPC or something like that. So
yeah, I hear that. And that's why I was ready to start a bar fight. One of our sessions. I think you know what, JJ, because Ismark seems to be kind of just all over the place. If you ever want to do something, you JJ, just shoot me a DM and say, I'm feeling a fight or something, and Ismark can probably justify going in that direction because he's just all over the place.
All right. I already know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send you like a Bash Brothers gift from like the Mighty Ducks, and that's our
Perfect.
signal that it's gonna go off.
It's time to punch somebody in the face.
Yes.
All right. You can count on Ismark.
Another chat without me.
No, this one will involve you. You're gonna have to be
Get
like,
ready.
I was wanting to move the story forward. I wasn't wanting to have a bar fight, but Ismark just punched somebody in the face because Solomon is itching for a fight. So here we go.
Okay, to both of y'all, how soon did y'all all get a separate chat without me? Because y'all mostly
I
had.
think it was pretty quick.
It was quick.
Yeah, for this one. When did it happen in Curse of Strahd, though? That's what I'm trying to remember. It was definitely after we started getting insanely paranoid about being like eavesdropped on 24/7. I think that was it.
It was
I
kind
think
of
it was
like
the first
in-game
time.
reasons.
Yeah, I think it was like the first time we like were somewhere where we felt pretty safe. We're like, okay.
Was it
Well,
after the one?
the answer to your first question for Ithaka was May 11th. Our secret non-Adrian PC chat began May 11th. When did we start the campaign?
I was about to say context, please.
This engaging podcast material brought to you by Runes and Fumes Crafts,
Oh my gosh.
where you can get your cutting boards and coasters.
I don't see a date for some reason.
All right, fine. I'm going to get my notebook.
The 26th is your first session recap, Dave. So my guess is the 22nd
Okay.
of April.
There we go. 22nd of April. So the end of April. So yeah, it took like 1 month. It took like 4 sessions, probably,
Nice.
to have
Nice.
our secret chat.
But yeah, no, I think it's funny. Like, I don't think I learned about the Curse of Strahd one until like months later. I mean, we played for almost 2 years in
Oh, like we were
Barovia.
actually sneaky about it?
Well, no one told me, and then someone dropped the ball and just like straight up said, "Hey, do you know we have a secret chat without you, right?" And I'm like, "What?"
That sounds like me. That sounds like a me thing to do. That was probably me.
You, Semi, Pink, Joseph, I don't know. You're all JJ. You're all culprits.
I know I personally have had moments where we're plotting and I, in my heart consider myself a dungeon master. And I was like, I would want to be prepared for these plots, not to circumnavigate their plotting, but to just run the encounters or whatever. So I think there's been multiple occasions where I've been like, hey, just so you know, Adrian, at least my character is planning to do this. So you can plan for it.
No, I appreciate that. I'm trying to remember what, other than this last Ithaca thing, what was the last time I got like bamboozled by y'all? And I'm trying to remember.
No, the one we almost did on him was was it? I was gonna say when Not was gonna bring Sergey as the wedding guest. That I think would have thrown you through a huge loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some wedding guest shenanigans being discussed. I think
I remember when we like brought it up at the end of the campaign, you even like dropped out of chat for a minute. And like I thought for a second that was you just being like, I need a second because I legitimately don't know what I would have done.
We broke them.
Yeah.
Good job, team. Let's find another DM.
I think it eventually, got to you. But when we were initially saying we're not going to wait for this wedding, we're going to go hit him in the mouth before the wedding. If we had kept that secret and just one session, we're like, we charged the castle. That may have thrown you for a loop, but we kind of leaked it out to you.
I think y'all kind of had that in mind at a pretty early stage. I think, Dave, you were like, why are we waiting? Why are we just waiting for his plan to go through?
Is it just because Adrian asked us what masquerade mask our characters would want?
I was looking on Etsy for something. I couldn't find enough. I'm like, I was going to send y'all masks and everything.
And when it mattered, we crashed the party before the ball, so...
Before I could buy masks off Etsy.
Support your local businesses.
Hey, yeah. Runes and Fumes.
Or small business. Runes and Fumes Crafts.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of some cool stuff, and I had some plans. They weren't like, all written down because I never write everything down. I have a loose outline because we got some smart players and we got some crazy players, and then we have some reserved players. So like it could go any amounts of ways with y'all, and I'm glad that it's like that. I think that if we had all the same like, let's go, let's fight, I'd be like, okay, cool. Forget putting names down. That's Gobbo 1 and that's Gobbo 2,
I know, right? Yeah, yeah. I had a great personality planned for this goblin, but they just got beheaded before they could talk.
I talked about this on another one. Just like have letters drop from their dead bodies. It's like a letter from their son or something like
Yeah,
that.
they're man. To make people feel guilty. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That was like when Roaring City, shout out to Roaring City, when Joseph killed one of the NPCs I really liked.
Yeah, that was
And
out of this
and I
world.
and I was like, no, you can't resurrect or revive or heal her. No, I'm not rolling death saves. She's dead. Sit
Yeah.
with that.
Oh, you think there's a cap? No, that's it.
What was the crit? It may have actually hit that cap, that threshold, maybe.
Yeah, it was contexts, please. This was a mage, old woman, and a spellcaster, and not many HP. So
Yeah, glassy, elderly, cute little bunny grandma just got shot in the forehead. Sorry, PETA.
hey,
We
hey,
haven't asked about Gigi's Salt Marsh
yeah,
game much.
exactly. So talk about Saltmarsh. How you been doing? How you doing with Saltmarsh? How you doing?
Don't start me ranting. I won't shut up.
Well, you got 10
I'm
minutes.
really excited. Okay, so they got the box. And
Okay.
that we finished a salvage operation, a little one shot that I ran for our table, and they successfully got the box. They don't know, and if they are
They don't know
listening to
what's in
this-
it, correct?
Yes,
But they do
all they
know
know
that a bunch of people want it.
they know. So context police for everyone at home.
Thank you.
Saltmarsh has a little bit of politics built into the module. It's calling it a module is a little bit of a misnomer, I guess. I found out, but whatever. There's a council of 5 members and essentially 2 factions. So there's like 2 and 2 members of the council who kind of vote one way, and then there's a swing vote. And I've kind of built up. There's like boiling political tension in Saltmarsh. So the catalyst for this kind of thing they went off on is before they go get this treasure on this derelict floating merchant ship that was long thought sunk at sea. Basically, each member of the council comes to them in secret and says, after they've basically contracted themselves with the Empire, they've had each council member in secret come to them and say, yeah, I know you're contracted, but if you give me the box, it will be better for the town, because they know there is nefariousness happening in Saltmarsh. There is a grand upheaval on the horizon, and they've kind of become very attached to kind of keeping it a kind of quaint fishing village, which has been kind of a challenge, because I envisioned this as like a pirate campaign and it being kind of very a Port Royal setting, and they are very goody-goody players. So what I've decided is, on the way back to Saltmarsh, I'm going to do a one-shot where I basically change the whole political landscape up. There's going to be this other faction that takes over the town. They may or may not kill the council members. It's going to depend on what happens during a one-shot I'm going to run, where basically the council's called together. The person who's taking over control, they announce that they're taking over control. They're saying to the council, join us or we're going to, kill you and replace you with people who will. And I'm going to have them play bodyguards of the council members and see what happens during that event. But by the time they get back to Saltmarsh, there's going to be a new sheriff in town. So when they go literally looking for the sheriff who hired them, they're going to be like, he's dead. So no one can pay you. So now they're going to have to go to one of the other 4 people to get their reward, or their mysterious benefactor. Their
You
patron
must
who is...
choose.
Ooh, ha ha ha.
Well,
Love
because
it.
they know that there's probably something cool in the box. They know everybody's looking for it. They're told that it's got a ton of money. In fact, they were told that I think it's 100,000 gold pieces are in the box supposedly, and they've been promised 10%. So 10,000 gold pieces. And then there's
Nice.
what I've put in the game, which is one of the artifacts from the Exandria book. There's like some, I don't remember off the top of my head which one it is, but there's some artifact that has like all these true sight and like see-through illusion abilities, and the big bad in the campaign uses a lot of that stuff. So I thought it'd be a cool thing to put in there.
Nice.
Okay.
So you're really leaning into the intrigue and kind of putting your characters into situations where they must make choices, and those choices will have varying, fallout depending on which ones they choose. Yeah, I love it. So good.
Yeah, I try to create these scenes. I have an idea on kind of where I want stuff to go, but I do exactly like you said. I like putting them in a china shop that's too small for them to move in, and then seeing what they knock over and kind of rolling with the punches. And I mean, like we've kind of talked about, I've noticed them kind of becoming interested in different things, so I've kind of leaned into those things. They aren't so interested in other things, which makes me sad, because they don't really go to Mirkarth's, and they don't know that he's a bad guy. And I have like context, please. I have a shopkeeper who is secretly a monster, and I've been waiting for them to get in a fight at the magic shop, but they just don't, because they don't go there. And they're not interested, even though he's the head of a whole human trafficking operation, and there are mirrors in his place that are like covered in these rugs and stuff, and I've kind of hinted that they see shapes in the mirrors, but they just thought it was their own reflection.
Classic misdirection. Not purposefully, but just in their minds.
Take the bait. Actually, Adrian, we don't take your bait quite often. Every now and then I come across like YouTube videos where they're like, how to be a better player character, or 10 traits of crappy player characters. And they always talk about not biting on like hooks that your dungeon master puts in there as like you're a horrible person. And we do that pretty frequently to you.
Yeah, so what? Like you miss it. C'est la vie, on to the next. I don't care. That's because it wasn't enticing to you. Just because I like it doesn't mean you're gonna like it. So I don't like those videos.
Obviously, we agree with you because we blow off the hooks every now and then. Because there was like in Curse of Strahd, there was that whole town and the shady spellcaster that we just kind of said, we got bigger fish to fry and left.
I was fine with that.
You've put like a gang in the woods in our most recent game, and we were just kind of like, they're not bothering us, we're not bothering them. Like we do that every now and then I come across those YouTube videos. I go, oh, sorry.
It's just story beats, and here's the thing. It's fine. I'll keep moving. The people
and the world keeps moving. That's what you've said before.
Yeah,
you got a living, breathing world.
That's like, okay, everything's in stasis until you touch it, kind of thing. Like, you bump into something, like not all pieces are moving, but once you touch them and you interact with them, they're gone. They're moving. They're doing something.
JJ, I'm gonna try something right now. Okay, pay attention to Adrian's face. Look for clues.
Oh my gosh, what's up?
Adrian, has our party in some way or the other already met the doppelganger?
No.
That was pretty convincing. What do you think, JJ?
I think he's practiced that too much. It felt too rehearsed.
Here's the thing. I think it would have been fun to say yes, to make you second guess everything, but
Every single interaction.
yes, but it wouldn't be the truthful answer.
All right.
And I didn't, like I've said, I didn't plan on this happening so soon. So most of my ideas of like what's supposed to happen next are kind of have
Like mid-tier.
I just like I had my papers in my hands and I just threw them up and I'm like, we'll see what happens. Look, y'all are gonna do. And I told you.
Well,
That,
I kind of like the idea of. Yes, you may have thrown your hands up, but your papers are still there. Like I'm intrigued at the idea that we are in fact somewhere where we shouldn't be, and like Percy, right? This spellcaster we just fought, who was dropping like what were they 6-level spells on us or something. So
you like upcharged fireball.
Yes, that's right. He at least cast a 5th level, I think it was, fireball. So I'm right now enjoying, if you're not changing the script, Adrian, and we are all in a scenario where we have no business being, and we need to be able to navigate that, or not. I think I'm enjoying that right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like, oh, you jumped to the high level place, better dumb it down. Like, no, I told you to be dangerous. Like, out of character, y'all's characters, or one of y'all's characters is like, hey, let's see what's over here, and I'm gonna show you what's over here. It's gonna be fun. Yeah. It's gonna be kind of exciting, but it's gonna be deadly. And I hope I installed that. But like Kai said, that only works with intelligent people.
Yeah, you can't intimidate the dumb.
It's true.
And that's us.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Now I mean, I think a handful of y'all have second characters.
You, JJ?
Yes, I'm like actively thinking and wondering if I should just start sticking Solomon's hand into proverbial blenders.
See, I think Joseph's doing the same thing right now. Joseph's in love with his backup. I think he's like.
Well, I'm cheating a little bit because it was an NPC in my Saltmarsh campaign that the parties become really attached to, and just they don't interact a lot with them. They've had very sparse interactions, but a couple characters have become very attached to them and ask me a ton of questions, and it made me think about them a lot, and I've just become very interested in this character.
Okay,
nice. I'll help you flesh out that character.
Yeah.
And as like a DM, I want to have that ability like Dave was to switch out a character. Maybe they get overly injured and they need to stay at an inn or something for a long period of time. You want to try out another character. Like, I want that to be available for y'all.
Yeah, if we had played Crystal Strahd much longer, I was ready for a break from Arlen.
I was running on fumes with Chris. Like, it was so dreary and like, I don't know. I hope this place is more lively. It has shops. It only has
it has sun.
Ooh, crazy. I think this new campaign's gonna hopefully interest y'all. And I keep looking at this. Good. It's and I'm for the viewers, it's a coaster that Dave made with the map I made over at his place, and then he laser engraved it on this.
Oh yeah.
And now so good. I need to add more things to it because this place is about to grow real fast because y'all kick the timeline into overcharge.
Darn right. It's the only way we know.
Do y'all have any questions for the game I'm running right now?
Ithaca questions?
Yes. Do y'all have Ithaca questions for me?
I don't have my journal ready. My notebook.
Go run.
Yeah, same. I don't nothing jumped in my head, but you also caught me in the headlights with that question.
I'm kind of chuckling because we fast forwarded into Ithaka by accident. Like, we were supposed to help out the mayor of Trent and like send him food and stuff and like talk to some armorer in Eldaron and stuff, and we just never went back to Eldaron, never went back to Trent. We're just in Ithaka, and not just the base level of Ithaka. Like, we're already up a tier, so if we leave, we're not going to be able to get back. And like,
so we do Adrian's bullshit quests.
I've kind of chuckled at some of those we just left hanging like that. One of those people in Trent just like gave us stuff. I remember Ismark was like, "Hey, how much do you want for this?" He's like, "Oh, just send food our way." What? Whoops! Like, how are we supposed to do that now? It's not a question for you, but it's just something I kind of been chuckling about since we teleported right on into that beautiful wedding cake of Ithaca.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. Pretty rad.
A lot of my questions are for players. We haven't had a ton of time to kind of put each other to question. And even Ismark and Solomon, which is our two characters, we've had probably the most kind of RP interactions so far. But because we had that fireside chat, when we're having our RP sessions during our streams, it's all like a lot of it's like innuendo and like references that nobody else is familiar with. So even those aren't like answering questions really. But yeah, I have a lot of questions for my fellow player characters.
Maybe we'll see what happens with the next session. We skipped last session because I was out of battery emotionally, so I had to like relax. But I can't wait to get back into it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I may miss tomorrow. Sorry.
It's okay. It happens. We'll see how.
Well, I had an idea. I'll send it to you.
I like it. I don't even need you to finish sending it. I like it already. All right, we've hit the hour mark. Any last questions, anybody?
Nope, not for me.
All right, JJ.
I can't think of any.
All right, JJ. I don't know if you have any socials or something you want to shout Can they find you somewhere? Hey, just stay away from
No.
you.
Yeah, I don't have any socials, any like ones I give out like that. So
good for you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, JJ. And then everything's Dungeons in Degrees now. I don't know, Dave. Do you want?
One of them is Dungeon in Degrees on Twitter. Dungeon in Degrees.
Gotcha.
But on TikTok and Twitch is Dungeons in Degrees. Everything else, I think, is Dungeon in Degrees.
Yeah, wonderful. Rate us 5 stars, or
you will never own a 100-year-old tortoise.
Ooh, that's a good get.
That's like a goal for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's like, you have your bucket list, and it always starts with 100-year-old tortoise. Own your ship.
Exactly. Good. I'm glad I'm not alone on that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Dave.
I was JJ.
Go have some fun.
Ooh, that was a smooth close, JJ. Nice. Yeah.